Hello and welcome back to the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Jay.
We're your hosts. Tonight, guys, we got another epic guest. We have a tournament director with us this evening, Alan Weidmeyer. He is part of the Nucanoe team. He runs the KBL. He's part of this new Crossroads Kayak Bass Team Classic that you guys may have seen on the good old interwebs. So we definitely want to talk about that. We want to talk about KBL, Nucanoe, and Torqueedo motors.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Alan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, I'm sure you know the format. We always ask everybody how they got into kayak fishing, and maybe you want to touch on how you got into tournament fishing and some of your accomplishments in doing tournaments.
Yeah, so, I've been fishing all my life. So my dad took me when I was a year and a half old, and, so it's been with me all, since that time. But, I didn't really get into kayak fishing until probably 2012. So Jay probably remembers Sean Wood that was in our club, and he was doing it before I was, and he was like, I got a couple kayaks. You want to go out and hit one of the local lakes? So we usually just shore fish from, and obviously I'm not one of the people that was used to fishing and something like that. I was in bass boat tournaments for the last 3 years prior to that, and so I was like, I don't know, it might not be that cool of a thing to do, and got into it, and ended up hitting water that I've been trying to get to for the last couple of years, just because I was stuck on the bank, and I just fell in love with it. Just the simplicity of it, being able just to drop in where you needed to. We had a ball that day. I mean, we caught tons of fish, so it was kind of got the kayak bug after that, and of course my wife. I kept bugging her if I wanted to get a kayak for myself and get out there and everything. So she said, "No, I don't want you doing that. You're already stuck in all these boat tournaments now. You're going to be, going away a lot more and all that stuff." So she actually ended up buying a kayak for me in 2013. And so ever since then, I blame it on her for my kayak fishing addiction. So she kind of regrets that choice, but
Sure.
it ended up working out pretty good. So. But as far as tournament fishing goes, like I said, I mean, I started bass tournament fishing since, I was 12. We did, small tournaments here and there. So it wasn't, anything huge, but I really didn't get like fully into it until right after college. So I graduated in 2010, and it was gangbusters after that because I had all this free time at this point. So I joined a local bass fishing club. They were a FLW trail club. Fished with them for 3 years, and then as soon as I got into kayak fishing, the doors kind of opened up for that. But I really didn't realize how big the kayak tournament scene was until maybe like a year after getting into it.
Sure.
So I didn't even know about kayak bass fishing. To be honest, I didn't even know who Chad Hoover was. Learning all this stuff afterwards, it was like, okay, I can probably compete and do this stuff. So yeah. So I mean, probably early 2015 is when we started doing all of it, and yeah, it's been history since then, man. So
heck yeah.
But
Well, you've made it down to the national championship a few times. You've won a couple tournaments, right?
National championship was obviously a new thing. The year before I went down there was just an open at that point.
Okay.
2016 is when they actually kicked off the actual national championship portion of it. And I got lucky, won a couple tournaments that I got my entry fees paid for. I went down there, and I think it was like 250, 275 people. And then I ended up in 11th place.
Oh, nice.
That worked out pretty good.
Heck yeah.
2017, I went back, ended up finishing in 40th that year.
Okay.
But last year, not so great.
Sure.
So we got our bad tournaments every once in a while. So I ended up finishing like middle of the pack, but it was great experience. I enjoyed it. Tons of people to go down, fish with you from across the country. So, I mean, the experience was, second to none to be able to do something that, huge. So, but yeah, so this will be my fourth year qualifying for the tournament. and it's just enjoying every time I can get down there.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Well, I mean, that's something we always talk about, as far as tournament fishing goes, how it's more of a camaraderie thing, right? And I know I've never been in the national championship, but I know talking to Jay and several of our other guests, they just said it's a great time to meet other anglers from across the country,
Right.
which is huge, man. It's all about growing the community. So,
Hmm.
I mean, that kind of leads into our next subject, the Kayak Bass League. Um, which you run, you're a tournament director. I know there's some other folks involved. So how did the KBL come about? How did that all form? And maybe you can go over the specifics of, how the series is structured, and it kind of, is a lot different than some of the other tournaments in our area up here.
Yeah. So like I said, when I first started doing the actual tournaments in our area, I didn't know what kayak bass fishing was as an organization, or Chad Hoover personally or anything. So when we actually named the group, I named it after the Bass Fishing League, the FLW BFL series.
Sure.
So that's where that came about, the Kayak Bass League. So coincidence afterwards, finding out there's a kayak bass fishing, it's like, oh man, well, people are going to think we somehow ripped off the name or just changed a little bit, but it was just coincidence that it ended up working out that way. But we had no real structure to, like, bass fishing oriented tournament series around here. So there was a niche to open that up, and so me, Scott Shaw, and Chensum Choi, we actually sat down for breakfast early one morning, early 2015, and was like, hey, can we put this together? What's it going to take to put it together? All the details that we're going to have to go through to get it to work out. And man, like, we had our first event at Shabona Lake,
Okay.
and had 35 kayakers show up.
Oh, nice.
We didn't even realize there were that many people that are actually into it at that time, and it was crazy, early in the morning, you just see waves of cars coming down into the parking lot, and it was awesome. So yeah, I mean, that's really all it took. And we had, our first year, we just did a couple open events just to gauge interest in that.
Sure.
And after that, it was, we need to beef this up and spread it out as much as we can and reach as many people as we can. So that's when we started doing the Club Classic Tour. So basically, that was our membership series. So the way we have it structured now, we have a couple ways for guys to get involved. So we have our membership base. So that's that Club Red series that it eventually morphed into what it is now. So we got 50 guys as members this year. Obviously, Brian, you're a part of it this year.
Hey, why isn't Jay's name on that list?
Jay's a veteran, man. He was with us since we started.
He was an OG, but he dropped out because he wants to chase pike. I just like giving him
I
a
like
hard
a little
time.
danger in my life.
I just like giving him a hard time. Yeah. So
Yeah. So I mean, we have our membership series. So that's obviously, we filled up this year in like 2 hours. So not, unfortunately, that's closed out for the year, but we still have our online series. So we do like a 5 tournament series called the Midwest Bass Battles that anybody can get in. And also we're going to have an open event on Newton Lake at the beginning of May. So that's open to 50 guys too. So at least we got a few things going on. So if you missed out on the membership series, then you at least have ways to get involved with us. And then I think we're going to do a couple meet and greets in that too. So I think we're going to do one at Bussy Woods, and then probably one other later in the year. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got a love-hate relationship with Newton. I know I'll be down there, but, it seems like that's the going thing with everybody I talk to, Everybody's got a love-hate relationship with that lake.
Right.
But, yeah, it'll be interesting, man. I know, you said that KBL filled up in 2 hours, and I know, like, I just knew there was a lot of hype around it before the sign-up. I had been watching everything going on. And
Right.
I always tell the story. I got up at like 7:45, and I was running back and forth between the coffee pot and the refresh button, and I got signed up. And then I know you were posting as the morning went on, like we got 13 spots left, 10 spots left, and man, I mean that says a lot, dude, about the league. You know that it filled up that quick. I mean, it was like 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours or something like that.
Right. I
So
mean, it's crazy the response that we've gotten now. I mean, I'm super happy with all the effort that everybody's put in. I mean, it wasn't just me, obviously, doing all this work. I mean,
sure.
it's a group of guys that, I've gone, come to trust, and they've helped me massively in getting this thing off the ground and keeping it going. And yeah, I mean, I'm just humbled by the amount of people that follow us and keep coming back every year to fish with us. So.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I know there's 13 new to Kayak Bass League members this year.
Right. Right.
And
Yep.
there was one other thing that I wanted to bring up too is um, I know you have, I think it's Susie has been with you guys for a while, but you also we have a new girl, Shannon, I believe, right, to the league
Right.
this year. So I think that's cool, man. You're seeing more women getting involved. So
Hmm.
I think that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I have a
We definitely need more.
yeah, no, for sure. I agree completely. I mean, we've had Christine Fisher on this podcast before, and she's a huge role model for the women, you know.
Right.
But I have a feeling we're going to be donating some dollars to those ladies this year, just because that's how it goes, you know. So,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think that's cool, man. I think it's totally cool.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't see that too much nowadays, you know.
Well,
Well, I should say
shout
you're seeing more of it, but definitely not enough, so to speak.
right. Well, shout out to Susie too. Not this past year, but the year before, she ended up finishing 11th at the national championship. I think she's
That's
probably
right. I
the,
remember
the
that.
highest woman angler in kayak bass fishing. Has gotten to that point. I don't think anybody's finished higher than she has
Yeah,
since we
right.
started. So, but man, she had a knockout 2 days that she fished there. I mean, she blew us all away. So yeah, she'll be taking some of her money this year. That's
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I remember seeing that. You said it was sixth place, right? She took
11th.
11th.
11th or
Yeah,
11th. Yeah, okay.
yeah. She was just beside herself. She ended up walking away with, a grand or so. She ended up walking away with a Yeti cooler. You
Nice.
know, but the funny thing was, that year, when I finished in 40th, there was a side pot. So there was, well, not a side pot, but there was an open tournament there the same year. So they did both the national championship and the open. So I signed up for both. I ended up missing a paycheck in the national championship by like one or two spots,
Okay.
but got a paycheck in the open. Well, Susie didn't enter the open,
And
so
she would have won it.
she would have won way more money. So if she
Oh
actually
wow.
would have signed up, she would have bumped me out. So when I came back with my measly $100 check, I was like, "Thanks, Susie, for not signing up."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
So, for those that don't know, where do the Kayak Bass League tournaments take place?
So we're pretty spread out, but we try to stay anywhere from like Madison, Wisconsin, so central Wisconsin down to central Illinois. We've gone as far south as Carbondale and Illinois and that, but it's just a matter of reaching as many people as we can and spreading it out to the best bodies of water that we can find that we can host it on. That's the biggest thing is that guys are going to be spending their weekends away from their families and doing this stuff. So we obviously want to, show out on the lakes that we put them on. So like, Tony Lamb last year on Newton Lake, he ended up catching a 23-inch bass. Jacksonville, when we had our championship last year in Jacksonville, Illinois, we probably had 6 or 7 fish over 20 inches that were caught. I ended up catching one that was 22 inches out of there. So, I
Nice.
mean, we're putting guys on lakes that, they're going to enjoy, that are going to test, their abilities. But then also, just using it as a guy's weekend or just, away from the family just to relax and, enjoy yourself too. So,
Very cool. Very cool. So, you know, what's it like being the tournament director? Because you get it from all angles, right? So
Right.
what's kind of the struggles there, and what's that all like?
You don't really know what the struggles will be until you're fully into it. I know, the first year or so was a little hectic, just trying to nail down everything. And, it's such a new sport that even the rules for even kayak bass fishing are constantly evolving. They're changing, they're adjusting. So just trying to, get to a point where we're not changing things up anymore and keeping things steady and, but you got guys that want to switch up lakes. Some lakes they're not going to like, and some guys don't like to travel and that. But the basis of our tournament series was meant to be, getting guys out to try new water and to diversify themselves. So, but yeah, I mean, seeing it from all angles, I mean, you don't realize how much work
Sure.
and effort goes into it.
Well, I know me and you had a conversation at the Chicago Fishing Show, and that was the one thing I wanted to talk about with you on here, because you do get some complaints from some guys. Oh, why are we fishing this lake again, or why are we fishing that lake again, and how come we're only limited to 50 members? And I think a lot of guys don't realize what goes into it. And not only that, but I know from our conversation, like, you got restrictions from the DNR on permits,
Right.
Size of tournaments, things like that, so maybe touch on that a little bit. I know that's something that a lot of guys don't think about, is all that extra stuff that goes into that.
Right, right. I mean, the biggest thing we have to balance guys not fishing on top of each other
Sure.
versus being in a lake that's unsafe. You
Sure.
know, we don't want to put guys on a 10,000 acre lake where they could get lost, or if a storm blows through, you're in a kayak and you can't get back quickly. That could be an unsafe thing that we're going to put people in, and we don't want to do that. And also, we don't want to have guys, casting pretty much to the same spot, on
Yeah.
top of each other while they're there either. So it's finding a balancing act between that, finding enough parking for everybody so it's not chaos in the morning trying to get everybody on the water. Obviously Illinois, they kind of suck in regards to, how they hand out permits and how, their the way they manage some of the lakes and that, which is unfortunate, but we get away with what we can because we're limited on bodies of water.
Sure.
That's the biggest thing. So that's why partially we creeped up into Wisconsin and that, and took advantage of the lakes that they have too. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, again, it's finding a balancing act between those two extremes, and finding water that people are going to enjoy fishing and that too. So
For sure.
but yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, and obviously 50 guys, I mean, that's still a good chunk of people, and just trying to find room for everybody. That's the main thing. So
Right on. Right on. So, any advice for first-time tournament anglers? Maybe somebody that's thinking about approaching fishing a tournament, looking at getting into the KBL next year or something like that, but they're kind of on the fence, nervous about it, things like that.
I mean, you got to look at it as, for what it is. It's a means of you interacting with other guys, learning from other people, getting on the water and having that experience. You end up with, you end up with first experiences that you're nervous about it. You want to compete, you want to, you want to do well, but at the end of the day, you just have to have fun. You want to enjoy what you're doing, and be out in the water and learning, taking away as much as you can, and building from that. I think too many guys, especially newcomers, is just getting too lost in all of the sponsorship stuff, and having to fit this model that you have to have all these pro staffs and all that stuff too. When I first started fishing, I was 3 years into it before I even picked up a sponsorship.
Sure.
So don't put that pressure on yourself to have to fit in this mold or whatever. You enjoy it for what it is. You take it for the fishing that you need, you enjoy, and leave it at that. And then things will come after that.
Right on. Right on. Yeah, I know, I always use Dusty as a reference because we had him on once, and he was talking about the first time he fished, I think it was MKT, and he showed up in like a little Pelican kayak or something like that. And he was like super, nervous because he saw all these guys in like Hobies and like fancy boats and stuff. And, he ended up like killing it. I think he took first place or something in that tournament. And, so that's the thing, it's like we always tell everybody, fish don't care about what boat you're in, right? They care about the lure that's dangling in front of their face. So, I think that's key. I mean, that's great advice. Just don't worry about all the other stupid stuff. Just get out there and have fun, meet some new people. Like me, I've made the joke a couple of times in the KBL group chat. I'm just here to donate money this year, but and obviously, I'm kind of joking, but I'm just there to have fun, meet some new guys, learn some new stuff, fish some different bodies of water. Basically everything you just touched on, I think it's super key, a key way to get out there and find some new stuff, So definitely cool, man. So let's jump into the new Crossroad Kayak Bass Team Classic. What's this all about? I know there was some build up and some hype in December, and then you guys kind of announced this the beginning of January. I know some people are confused, but I think it's definitely a cool thing. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the biggest thing, we wanted to have our own Midwest regional championship, basically. So I've had this idea floating around in my head for a while now. And, it was kind of came to fruition too, because I don't know if you guys know of there's a Texas tournament. I forgot what the heck it's called, but it's basically kind of the same concept. So basically you have teams representing each club that's going to go to this regional championship. So we have 9 clubs involved right now. Just go through those guys real quick. So we have 2 from Wisconsin. So we have the Midwest Kayak Bass Club and then Wisconsin Kayak Fishing Club.
Yep.
We have 2 from Illinois. So we have the KBL, and we have the Southern Illinois Kayak Club. We got 2 from Michigan. One is Michigan Kayak Trail, and then Michigan Ohio Kayak Series. And then we have 3 from Indiana. So we have Indiana Kayak Anglers.
Okay.
We have Southern Illinois Yak Anglers Club. And then we also have Grassroots Bass Yak and Indiana chapter.
Nice.
So 9 clubs from the area. And each club is going to send a team of 5 guys. So basically you have to compete in each of the series to earn your spot for that 5-man team. So, like for KBL, the top 5 in Angler of the Year points is going to make up that team to go and represent the KBL. So it'll be a 2-day tournament on Newton Lake. This will be September 28th and 29th. And basically same rules apply. It's going to be a 5-man or 5-fish limit for each guy on the team. And, we will be awarding prizes to the top anglers that have the top total amounts after the 2 days.
Nice.
And then the top team as well. So basically the winner of the tournament gets to host the next year's tournament. And, it's a cool concept because not any single club owns this.
Sure.
KBL is just hosting it for this year. We do not own it. All the clubs that are involved, are going to make this work or helping to make this work. And, we're just passing the torch to whoever ends up coming out on top, So there's a lot of crap talking already.
Oh, yeah.
There's already guys, wondering what's going to happen if one guy, ends up, qualifying for more than one club, because I know a lot of our guys fish like the Michigan Kayak Trail Tournament
Yeah.
Series. So, so yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great event. There's a lot of sponsors that are going to be potentially coming on board with it. The payouts are going to be awesome for this event. So it's 100% payback from all the entry fees, so nobody's making any money on this. So yeah, it's built by the anglers, it's for the anglers, and then I'm hoping that at the end of it, we have a lot more interest from people outside of these clubs, wanting to be a part of all these separate clubs now, because they'll have an opportunity to qualify for this event. And then also bring in more tournaments to the area too. So
sure. So like the one question I had, because you brought up that like I know some of our guys fish, or some of the KBL guys fish the MKT series. So what if they qualify for both? How is that going to work out? Just the spot's going to get tossed down for whoever they want to represent, or
basically, so say if I ended up qualifying for both, I decide which club I want to fish for, and then if the spot that doesn't get filled gets rolled down to the next person. So that's basically how it's going to work. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're going to fish for the club that you feel you're going to represent, you want to represent. So
you'd fish MKT then, right?
Exactly. Me and Tom went back and forth. I'm like, well, what happens if I do qualify for MKT? Am I going to fish for you guys, or what's going on? No, but it's all good, man. I really am excited to see how this thing kind of shakes out. And like I said, I mean, the crap talking between clubs is full on right now, and it's just going to keep on just building up throughout the season. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I've been kind of watching the banner from behind the scenes, and I know a bunch of our guys are amped up about it, and already talking smack, so it's kind of cool, and it I think it helps add an added goal for the season, other than obviously winning tournaments and Angler of the Year for your club, but now you can also go and represent your club and get a chance at even more. And the bragging rights, that's going to be that's going to be the cool thing. There's going to be a bunch of trash talk after whoever wins,
Oh
so.
yeah. Now we're planning to build a trophy for this event. So actually, Duke Westcamp over at
Catch.
Catch Products. Him and I have been collaborating on it, so we're coming up with a pretty unique trophy to hand out to the winner afterwards too. So they'll be able to hold on to it for a year, and then it'll move on to the next club that hosts it. So that should be fun.
It'll be like the Stanley Cup of kayak bass fishing. I like it.
Basically, yeah.
I like it. So here's something that I skipped when we were talking about KBL, and you had posted something recently in the KBL members group, and it was like, hey guys, I really want to fish KBL series this year to qualify for this event, right?
Right.
So
right.
Did you not fish the KBL events before because you were the director? Is that how it goes, or?
So basically what I've done in the past, I wouldn't run the series unless I could fish in it. That was partially why I wanted to start it too, is to have a platform for obviously anybody, including myself, to be able to fish it.
Sure.
So I fished the regular season events, but I actually bow during the championship because, running the series and, being in that role then with all the bigger prizes and stuff, I just didn't feel it was right for me to do it. And my responsibility was more, getting content at that point. So taking pictures on the water and, rooting everybody else on and being a cheerleader on the sidelines. And, it ended up working out better that way. But, with those qualifying spots for this event, and I'm going to be down there anyway, kind of coordinating everything, would be cool to qualify for it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, if that's the thing, if I couldn't compete in it, it'd be tough. I think I just enjoy it.
No, and I know the consensus among everybody was like, yeah, you should absolutely do it, man. And I think it's cool that you got everybody behind you. I mean, I'm all for it, man.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. And it's like, some guys think that, for whatever reason that you may have an advantage to the series or whatever just because you run it. But I'm telling you, there's no advantage
no,
whatsoever. If anything, we're at a disadvantage. I mean, when we're doing the tournaments and stuff, we're the last people on the water and
sure.
we're the first people off. It's one of those things that, it comes with running the series and that, but man, it's, you know,
Yeah, but not only that, the whole time you're on the water, you're thinking about, Johnny, Joe, and Jim who just, complained about this, that, or the other before the start of the tournament, or you got to get back and do this and that. You're not totally focused on fishing. You got other things on your mind. So,
right. Oh yeah.
yeah, I can see, I can definitely see that, man. You're at a little bit of a disadvantage because you're not 100% focused on fishing, probably.
Right.
I mean, yeah, in a way you are, but you still got stuff running through the back of your mind. I know how that goes, man. So,
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's cool, man. I hope you get one of those spots for sure.
Should be interesting, man. I'm hoping so.
I'm hoping I'm right there with you, but we'll see.
Hey, Alan, so what are you going to be fishing out of this year?
So I'm still with Nucanoe, obviously, this year. This will be my third season with them. So I've been a huge fan of the Nucanoe Pursuit. So I actually have two of them now, but I'll be fishing out of that again this year. Possibly thinking about upgrading to their Nucanoe Frontier 12 later on this season, but we'll see how that works out. So
the barge,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, the kayak itself, I mean, I was with Feel Free for a couple of years before I made the switch to Nucanoe, and it was just, dumbfounding to me how different those style boats paddle. Once I got in the Pursuit and actually tried it out for myself, I mean, it was like night and day different. And the layout of it, the stability was actually, even better than, what I expected. And yeah, I mean, it's just an awesome boat to fish out of.
Yeah, I've paddled the Pursuit, man, and that thing is quick in the water.
Right.
That it's not skinny, but it's skinny enough where it just, and that hull design, man, it just cuts right through the water.
Right.
I mean, it was super fast when I paddled it. Because when I demoed my Bonafide, I actually thought I was going to buy that boat, and then I demoed the Bonafide, and then I got back into the Pursuit, and I was like, man, this is like a tough decision. And
Right.
needless to say, obviously, I ended up in a Bonafide, but it's a sweet paddling boat, and as far as the Frontier 12 goes, our former co-host Scott, he's got one, dude, and I've fished out of that, and I've walked that boat front to back, stood like right on that sidewall, like, dude, you can't. Like I tell everybody, like at the fishing shows and stuff, it's like you're gonna fall out of a fishing kayak before you tip it over. Like,
Exactly.
it doesn't matter what boat you're in, but like that Frontier 12, dude, it's unbelievable, like how stable that thing is. And that's one thing I know. Blake has kind of took pride in up there at Nucanoe for a long time, is just the stability of his boats. So it's super cool.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that new pivot drive that's coming out? Have you gotten your hands on it yet? Have you seen it?
I have not. I saw the first prototype when we first came out with it at ICAST a couple of years ago. And, personally, I think the concept is awesome. The way that, they integrated basically a drop-in pedal system that can be removed easily. I think that's really adding to the value of that style kayak just because of the fact that you can outfit it and retrofit it the way that you need to.
Sure.
So you end up with a blank canvas to start with, and this pivot drive is just a drop-in pedal drive system. They found it to be more responsive because you got the prop in the back of the boat, so your turning response and your speed response is actually pretty great. being able to raise and lower that prop drive out of the water easily is a big thing for them. But yeah, I mean, just the way they set it up and adapted it to the boat and the drive system they have for it. I mean, I think it's going to be a really great add-on for people. It'll be cheaper in the long run for some guys because they might only be able to buy the kayak to start out with, and to find out later that they can add the pedal drive later. I mean, that's a huge thing. So
yeah, definitely, man. I know, that's a big thing. If somebody's like kind of iffy on getting into kayak fishing, they could buy a Nucanoe without, spending the extra coin on a full out pedal drive boat, like a,
right.
A big rig or, Old Town Predator, Hobie, things like that,
Right.
No, I dig it, man. I like the open deck concept where you can configure it to exactly the way you want. And I know that was the main reason why Scott had bought one, because, he's got a young son, wants to go tandem in that Frontier 12. He could
Right.
do that. He could go solo. He's got a trolling motor that, he could hook up on the back. Like, that's the one thing I'll say about Nucanoe, man, is with that blank canvas, you have so many options, which I think is cool, whereas other boats you don't necessarily have that flexibility, so to speak. So I dig it, man.
Right.
So you're the regional director up this way, right? So how many guys you got on the staff, and you pointing fingers, or you just helping guide guys along the way? How's that work out for you?
It's a new role for me. I mean, like I said, I've only been in the pro staff side of things for a few years now and really getting into it. And, it was, great that, Blake reached out to me and gave me this position to lead these guys. And, it's really, not me so much, having to point, a direction to where they need to go. I mean, these guys have their stuff under control. They've been doing really well, supporting their local dealers and getting the name out and, doing whatever they can. So it's more, me just being a sounding board if they have issues with stuff, and I can relay that back to Blake, or, if they need advice on anything, or, just keeping, things kind of on a steady pace and going in the same direction. So it's been great. I've enjoyed the experience so far, and, we got like 9 or 10 guys over, I think it's like 5, 6 states. So
Nice.
So, I mean, it was kind of scary at, the beginning, kind of like, gosh, can I take on this responsibility at this point? But, the people that I work with and the guys that are on the team, help out with that, immensely. So it works out pretty good.
Very cool, man.
Do you guys have any plans to get the team together and kind of just do like a couple, like go camping or something, do like do some shoots, get some footage, and just have some fun?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. I really would like to get everybody together and just, because we're so spread out, and obviously we want to have a lot of opportunities to, interact with each other. So I think it's good, having that, time to get to know everybody and, everybody's backgrounds and what they're good at, So yeah, I mean, we're talking about doing something like that, maybe go on a smallmouth fishing trip, maybe towards like St. Clair or something. And so it's there. Just we gotta get all that, all the ducks in a row for that and get out there. So, but
Nice.
We'll see.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that's what we need to see more from the teams too. Is, I think you see kind of a not really a separation, but everybody sees so distant. And like when you start bringing everybody together, it brings the more of the family aspect in the team, and
Right.
and then everyone can build on top of each other and reach to different groups and just kind of help expand the sport and just
Right.
show everybody that it's fun, because that's
Yep.
really what this is all about. I mean, that's what we all got into it, because it's just a ton of fun and it's a great way to meet people and see different areas and get into get in some new fish even, in
Right.
some aspects.
Okay. Yeah.
So you got this Torqueedo, Mr. Torqueedo.
Right.
So I've seen you buzz around and go past me many times in the tournaments, which is awesome. you know, kind of, back in my paddle days.
Right.
No, I mean, it looks very, enjoyable to be able to just cruise by. So what makes the Torqueedo motor a key asset to a kayak angler?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, you have conflicting interests in all this. So you have the purists that are paddle only guys. You got guys that, are only human powered, pedal or paddle. And then you have guys that, introduce motors and that. Guys have to realize that we got into this because we were fishermen first, right? So, our need to be on the water is, that exercise is great, being out there and being active is great, but we want to get to our fishing spots. We want to be able to compete. We want to have that advantage on the water, when we can have it. So I think that's where the niche for motors came in. And, as much as the argument back and forth between pedal and paddle, being an equal thing, they really aren't. Pedaling has such an advantage over guys that paddle. So I think, the introduction of motors is really what kind of leveled the playing field, but in some cases it's to the extreme because, we can have trolling motors that are 110-pound thrust if we wanted to, and, get to, something crazy. But I think, getting to that point is probably not the best thing. I think it's how we laid it out. We have a 55-pound thrust maximum limit in the KBL. So you're really not getting a speed advantage over somebody else that's, pedaling at that point. We don't want to have, such a distance in that to create, animosity between guys that, can go out and get a motor or somebody that can't. But I think the Torqueedo has its advantages, one, because of the weight. That's a huge thing. The whole system weighs 19 pounds. I mean, you can get a lead acid battery to power a regular trolling motor that weighs probably twice as much as that.
Right.
The amount of speed and torque this thing puts out. I mean, I'm cruising in my pursuit at like 5.2 miles an hour, So
5.2.
You got a glitter paint job?
I don't even know what that's like. I don't know what that's like.
You got a glitter paint job on that Nucanoe too?
No kidding.
A little splash of glitter on there. For sure.
No, I distinctly remember Alan just going by a couple times, and you're just like,
hey Jay,
right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it helps. I mean, it gives, an advantage in that aspect to keep up in speed compared to pedal guys. But you also have to think about it for safety reasons too. Say if I'm a mile out from where my launch area is and I'm stuck with a paddle trying to get back, it would save my butt trying to, or just turning on my motor and motoring back as quick as possible, So, even we had our tournament last year on Yellowstone Lake in Wisconsin. We had a bad storm come through, and I was getting guys off the water. Having that motor, I was able to go around the lake really quickly to notify everybody to get them off the water. So I mean, there's reasons to have it too, in that aspect. But again, we're there to fish.
Sure.
We're there to compete. It was kind of funny because last year, I was strictly, paddle only for most of the year. And my catch numbers from last year to this year just dramatically increased just because of the amount of water I'm able to cover and the amount of area that I'm able to fish. Plus, having it hands-free too. I have it set up with toe steering at this point, so I can cast while I'm motoring along in that too, which is huge. So it helps.
It's cool, man. I'm not gonna lie. I've been looking at Torqueedos.
Right.
I am one of those paddling snobs, so to speak. But I think it's cool, and like you said, it does help you cover more water, which is key. Right. There's pros and cons to each. I would say, obviously the paddler has a little bit of a disadvantage compared to motor or pedal driven. but to each their own,
Right.
But I think those Torqueedos are slick. I know you're on the Torqueedo team, and I like how you got the battery units. Setups are super clean. Like you said, they have a ton of torque.
Right.
I once raced Scott in his Frontier 12. He had a 55-pound thrust trolling motor on the back, and I kept up with him for about 200 yards, and then I about had a heart attack. So, like, that's the thing. I got a long paddle stroke, and I'm pretty quick in that bonafide, but
Right.
I don't think I could do 5 miles an hour. So
Right.
you got me there.
I just don't see it happen. Dude, even on any other pedal drive, you're like, you just start huffing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know those Hobies can like cook, but man, you definitely need some stamina to get any of those yaks moving like that.
I saw that video the other day. I think it might have been in the Kayak Bass League members chat. There was a Hobie. They hooked a Hobie to I forget what pedal drive boat or what kayak it was, but it had an electric trolling motor on the back, and the Hobie pulled the electric trolling motor boat across a pool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Those Hobie guys might have the advantage. Might have to ban Hobies.
Right.
I just pissed off everybody in our league, or at least half of them. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No.
I mean, like the Mirage drive isn't my drive.
Yeah. No, I think it's cool. At least you guys, I love the fact that you guys at least restrict the pounds of thrust on the trolling motors. I know there's one guy in particular that was a little upset about that, but it's for a good cause. You can't. I mean, if you allow any size trolling motor, then what's next? Guys are going to start putting outboards on the back of their kayaks.
Right.
Getting a Johnny boat.
Yeah, right.
I
mean, there's so many gray areas now, and that's the thing. Like we have to draw the line somewhere, otherwise it's just going to get out of hand. And more power to the guys. If you run your own series and you do it differently, I mean that's your thing. I mean that's what you made your own series for. But at the end of the day, we don't want to feel like somebody's at a disadvantage or somebody can't do what they want to do, because a lot of the preemptive things that guys were doing with motors was like, if you have a handicap that you need a motor for,
Sure.
we don't want to get into, gray areas where, is this guy really handicapped? Does he really need a motor? Are we going to limit it?
Right.
So, I mean, Chad Hoover took the same stance, and he was basically telling everybody, like, just let everybody do it. That way you're not restricting anybody from wanting to use one, and, make it a fair playing field for everybody.
No, I hear you, man. I agree with it 100%. To each their own, like I said.
Right.
Well, I also think too that a lot of people don't think about it. There is a safety issue because, everybody wants to get somewhere fast, but I don't think a lot of people are thinking about that. You could definitely overpower that kayak.
Oh yeah.
And you could toss that thing. You could flip your kayak in a turn.
Yeah.
Right. You could head into a wave and go underneath and then sink your kayak. I mean, there's so many other aspects that are dangerous in some situations that, sure, I want to get there fast, but how fast is too fast,
Right.
And most of these boats are only engineered to go so fast.
Sure.
Exactly. Right. I mean, you got that on top of adding a 30, 40 pound battery to your kayak that, added weight that you didn't have before. It's one of those things that, like I said, you have to have some sort of cutoff to it. You got to make it reasonable to, everybody. So
I make up for that 30 or 40 pounds and all my extra plastic baits.
Yeah, I got that problem too.
Yeah.
So we're not alone.
No, it's cool, man.
Hey,
it's cool.
Is the Torqueedo easy to set up in the kayak?
Oh yeah. I mean, the biggest thing for the motor setup, you obviously are at a little bit more of an advantage with the kayak that has a flat, spot on the rear end of the kayak. Obviously, their new motor mount that they're coming out with now is going to mount directly to where the power pole usually would go. That 4-bolt pattern in the back. But mine, I had to adapt it a little bit, and I actually run the support piece that is for the motor actually through the hole that they have in the back of the Nucanoe. So they have that hole opening in the transom that they use for their kayak cart.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that the size of that hole fit the mounting rod or pole, the horizontal pole on it perfectly. So it was a little bit of sanding, and the thing slid right through, and I was able to mount it pretty easily on there, and it's solid. So yeah, I really didn't take a lot of crazy stuff to make it work. So
Sure. No, that's cool, man. I know. I don't know if it's Torqueedo that's making it, or somebody else, but I saw somebody came out with a plate so you could mount the Torqueedo and the power pole and have both. Because I think before it was like either or something, right? You could only have either or.
right, and I think I'm pretty positive the new mount that they have now will allow you to mount the power pole too as well. I think the mount's long enough now where you actually can adapt both at the same time. So Jeff Little did a lot of reaching out to other people that actually used it and what the needs were for the new mount and that. And I think that was one of the main things that they had to think about, because obviously people want to have that capability for both the motor and the power pole.
Nice.
So,
yeah, no, I saw that and I thought that was pretty slick because, I wouldn't mind having both. It'd be pretty sweet.
Right.
So I want two.
Yeah. So what if I put 3 55-pound thrust Torqueedo motors on the back? Is that legal?
That's a good question.
It's a loophole.
It's a loophole.
Well,
yeah, they weren't specific in the verbiage.
I'd actually like
I
to
can see
do that. I have 3 batteries, 3 big SLA batteries on there, 3 trolling motors just randomly placed, and yeah, that'd be interesting.
I think the only boat you'd be able to get away with that on is the Titan, because it's got such a huge rear tank well,
Right.
Be like one of those offshore boats with 4 outboards on the back.
Right.
You're like, what is that, a hydrofoil?
Yeah.
Somebody will do it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. A full hydraulic system, so they all just deploy down at the same time. And all that. That'd be fun.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're drawing down here, Jay. You got any other questions for Mr. Allen here?
No, sir.
Yeah. For Jay.
What's that?
I guess I got a question for you. So are we going to see you? Are we going to see you at the Newton Open this year so I can give you your KBL hat?
Oh.
I've been on him about it, man.
There's a very strong possibility. Yeah, Brian's been nonstop with it.
I'm like, dude, you're fishing this tournament. You're coming with. There's no getting around it.
I kind of had a plan to show up just sporadically here and there to say, because I miss all you guys. It's that's the thing too that, I think that a lot of people don't realize is that you get used to fishing with these clubs and all these people, and so you become friends with them over time, and
right.
And when you back out of a series like I have, it's like I see you guys online and I talk to you there, but unless we're doing shows together, I don't really have that interaction unless we go out of our way to be, to go fishing somewhere, but we're all busy. So, but I know that, I was going to do this with all the clubs this year too. It's just kind of pop in, here and there.
Hey,
so I think it's
time to pop in.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to say it. Yes, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there. Because if I don't say it now, Brian's gonna be like, he's gonna call me right after. Say, you're going, right?
Right. And I'm gonna be disappointed if you don't bust out the inline spinner at least some point during that day.
You're the one that
you've seen how that thing works.
Yeah, you're the one that gave him the nickname Meps Man, right?
I probably did.
Yeah.
After that, did he tell you that story?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think Jay shared that on the first time he was on the podcast. He was like, I was fishing this tournament, and I think he said you came up beside him, and then he started catching some fish right at the end of the tournament or something along those lines. So,
oh man,
dude, That was a 500-yard stretch too, right? Like to the when we go into that canal to the launch.
Right. I mean, it was at Long Lake, just north of Chicago, and that had to be the worst tournament I have ever had. I mean, I've never walked away from many tournaments scratching my head like I had no idea what the heck I did wrong. And I'm coming back, and I'm just, making whatever last cast I can do, and all I see Jay is busting out this little ultralight with a little mesh spinner on the back of it. I'm just like, I swear to God, if this guy catches one in front of me, man, I'm gonna lose it. And not like 2 seconds later, he cooks into one. He's like, I got one. Yeah, and I'm like, all right, well, how long is it? 12.5 inches. I'm like, oh.
That was my Hail Mary, man. Yeah. I was like, all right. You know me, dude. The ultralight's always with me. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Right, right.
That'll bring him in, man. But yeah, that was a super tough day.
Right.
I mean, I remember how it was so miserable that day.
Yeah. I mean, we showed up to rain first thing in the morning, and it was cold, and yeah, it sucked. Good times.
It's always fun fishing in the rain.
Long live the rooster tail, man.
Yeah. Oh, too funny, man. Too funny. Yeah. Alan, why don't you go ahead, give a shout out to your sponsors, where people can follow you, anybody you want to mention from the KBL, the new Crossroads series, any of that stuff.
But as far as sponsors, I've been really fortunate with the companies I work with so far. I've been with quite a few of them for a few years now. So Nucanoe Kayaks, Torqueedo, Kistler Custom Fishing Rods, Rocktown Adventures with, the guys that you guys worked with last year or so too now. Great guys that, offer a lot of different kayaks, and get a lot of people out in the water. So kudos to them for being a supporter of us and the Kayak Bass League for quite a long time now.
Heck yeah.
Who else? Anchor Wizard. Supernova fishing lights. I mean, those guys make a great product. I've been using those for a couple of years. I feel I'm missing somebody. Tackle Trap too. Oh, so the Tackle Trap has been a huge, a money pit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I mean, I get a lot of tackle from there. Guys have great deals all the time. So I mean, hit those guys up for new tackle and stuff. But yeah, I mean, those are all those companies I've been with for at least 3-4 years already, and have great people behind them. So, I'd recommend those companies to anybody.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. What about anybody from the KBL?
Yeah. So, obviously all of our staff guys. So Susie, JC, Tony, Titus, Atif, Patrick, and, it's all those guys help out immensely with doing all the day-to-day stuff. And, guys have to realize all of us have full-time jobs. So, I mean, we do this because we enjoy it. We love it. And all these guys, I can trust them with anything, and, having my back throughout this whole thing. And, it's been awesome. We're 5 years in now, and it's built, to a level that I wouldn't have even thought 5 years ago. So.
Right on, man. Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It's blowing up. I dig it. And like I said, there's been a lot of banter already on the Kayak Bass League and the Crossroads series, and
right.
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a good season.
Right.
Look forward to fishing with a bunch of new people. I met a few guys at the fishing show out there in Chicago, and everybody I met was super friendly, super nice. So
yeah.
It's cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like, and Jay touched on this too, is the club atmosphere of it. You get to learn about all these different guys in your area, and you end up with a bunch of new friends, and you end up with more people than you probably ever thought of to go fishing with, just on any weekend and that too. So it's awesome.
For sure, man. Definitely. Cool. Alan, thanks for joining us tonight, man.
Yeah,
super enjoyed that, and Yeah, if you have any big announcements coming up in the future, always let us know, man. We got an open platform for you and the KBL here and the Crossroads series.
Yeah.
I think when the season winds down, I think it'd be cool to get a few people from each league to sit down and talk smack right before the tournament happens. And then maybe we could do a podcast right after.
I like that idea. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting and cool. There may be a few bleeps in that episode, but we'll figure it out.
Right.
Or a big disclaimer right before it airs, like, don't have your small children around.
Right.
Put your kids to bed.
Yeah. No, I think it'd be cool. For sure. So, real quick, guys, the recycled plastics program with Hammered Lures is in full effect. In the show notes of every episode is the address. Save your used plastics this season. You can mail them to the address in the show notes. Eric from Hammered Lures is going to take those plastics, melt them down, make new baits, and they're going to get donated to Heroes on the Water. Until next time, guys, tight lines and smooth paddling. Wait a second. This episode isn't over, boys and girls. Another quick announcement getting added to the agenda. Jay and I will be down in Tennessee on Douglas Lake, March 15th, 16th, and 17th. It's a Friday through Sunday. The main day is going to be Saturday. We want to fish with you guys. We want to get out on the water. If we get enough guys, we're thinking maybe we'll do a little tournament or something, free tournament, and maybe we'll see if we can get some of our sponsors to donate some prizes and stuff as giveaways, T-shirts, things like that, and then have a little BBQ afterwards by Chef Brian. So if you guys can make it, we're going to stay at Douglas Headwater Campground. It's right on the lake down by the dam. It's in Seaverville, Tennessee, on Douglas Lake. We would love to see you guys all down there. Should be a good time, and should be a good time to spend on the water. Get some lines wet after this long, drawn-out winter, and yeah, we're looking forward to it. Well, I'll have some bonafide kayaks with me. Jay will have a Jackson, so if you guys want to try out some boats, we will have them there for you to paddle around. So, sorry to throw you through a loop, but this is now the ending of the episode. Till next time, guys, tight lines and smooth paddling.